Latino children play more video games than any other ethnic group at that age level. Thus, it is conceivable to assume that they will play more as their generation grows up. They will fill in the age groups as that generation gets older. However, Latinos are unlikely to see representation of their ethnic group among the game characters that they're playing as, especially primary characters. We've already touched on this before, but I want to look at it from the social identity theory, which suggests that the lack of appearance is a direct signal to Latinos that they are relatively unimportant and powerless compared to more heavily present groups.
Personally would take a partial stance on that. I think it really does come back to the fact that they are predominantly made by white males, and I mean, if they start getting into the field, I think that will change a little bit, but I think at the same time the theory holds up and is discouraging them from doing so.
Yeah.
I think the validity of the theory would be seen down the line as, you know, a subset of the Latino population that plays video games enters the game industry and starts developing. If we see the same kind of lack of ethnic and racial diversity that we see today, then that would suggest that the theory is valid and that they've been, you know, successfully assimilated by the, you know, by basically white culture, and that's unfortunate. But what I would argue is if, you know, video games have any kind of a parallel to other media in their development and the integration of other ethnicities into the production process, that we are going to start to see not necessarily conformity in the you know, the continued white protagonist paradigm, but we're going to see a heterogeneity develop among protagonists as more people of different ethnicities enter the development, just like with TV.
I wonder what the numbers are of other minorities willing to adopt a white character portrayal than like white people willing to go the opposite direction. I wonder what the, you know, game sales of that would be. I would be curious to see a study about that. Where a main character is a black person, as a main character is a white person, which one sells more? I would like to see those numbers.
It's not necessarily about being fair, it's about
what sells.
dollar.
I mean, it all boils down to there's a mold. Just as, like, you know, when you look at films that are being written, you know, they've broken it down to, you know, films tend to follow a certain series of events, or, you know, a formula. And so, you know, that formula is also present in video games, and you can just kind of see it as far as what to expect in a video game, and to break that mold is.
Yeah. Well, I also see the problem almost working itself out, whereas the Latinos, as they grow up, become the majority of the buyers of these games or players of these games. They're gonna start incorporating, you know, to more identify with their demographic now.
I'm just curious as what they would have to put into the game to, like, you know, represent that culture more.
Without being stereotypical.
Yeah, like
I'd like to see numbers where, like, you know, is a game going to sell better with a different group in the role of the primary character? Because if not, you would wonder, well, you know, if it's not going to make a difference, would it make a difference, or it's not going to make a difference in sales? Would it make a difference as far as how society views itself?
Mm-hmm.
How, you know, what would it promote these ethnic groups to see themselves in a better light if they were portrayed in a, you know, as that hero, or, you know, that person who gets everything done, who is the hero of the game? You know, would that promote them to feel better about their ethnic group in society? It's hard for me to say, because, you know, I am the ethnic group that is always portrayed as the hero.
Ones being targeted.
Yeah,
I like when they do a party game and there's like a whole mess of races, you know, everyone's coming together to accomplish the greater good.
Yeah, you got Mario, you know, Yoshi and Donkey Kong. And,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you got games like Diablo where you can play as the paladin, who is a African American, or well, I guess I wouldn't really know what the nationality he comes from, but he's a black person.
Sure.
Then you've got the sorceress, which I want to say has a more Southern Asia or
Spicy.
That's where we cut.
Well, a lot of this seems like it boils down to racial sensitivity and awareness. It's like video games are a very new thing that's coming out. When movies started out, I mean, they were, looking at it now, like when they first started 100 years ago, they were incredibly racist. But that's
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
yeah, by our standards. But and so other races might look at video games and think the same thing. Like 100 years from now, they're like, wow, that was incredibly insensitive of them. But it's just as we grow, the industry is going to evolve and learn how to be more sensitive to the other races' desires.
I think it's a learning experience. As we move on, it'll change slowly.
It'll definitely take time.
This is something that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take
Yeah.
a long time. I think by the time our generation is growing old and stop playing video games, that it might be on its way to really getting going. I think it'll take a while.
I can't.
So in conclusion, all human characters should be taken out of video games and replaced by robots.